Welcome to And Before You Go. This is a place for moms of teenagers. A place for moms who are starting to realize you only have a few more years, weeks, months, or maybe even days to spend with your child before they move on to the next phase of their lives. And as the days tick away, you look at your child and you realize there are biblical truths that you want them to know. There are some ways that you see they still need to grow. And you're just hoping time will go slow so you can still visit all the places you want to go. Is that you? Then you're in the right place. Let's get started. Hello, I'm Shonda. Welcome back to the podcast. Thanks for tuning in. This week, I am joined by my very best friend, Dion. We have been friends for a very long time. And except for college, we've lived around the corner from each other. But now things are changing. Not only are our boys graduating from high school soon, but Dion's moving across town, which I have not reconciled my feelings about that yet, but it might call for another list. There are some places Dion and I need to go. Okay, she's going to be across town and we could totally still see each other when we want to, but the convenience of her being around the corner is going to change. So I went over to her house as she was packing things up and said, "Hey, let's chat about the boys." And this is what she said. I am sitting here with my friend Dion. And Dion, we have kids that are probably, what are they, like 10 months apart? Something like that?
Is it even that much? I thought it was maybe like 6 or 7.
But they're in the same grade.
Yes, they're in the same grade.
Yes.
They've spent literally their whole lives together.
Entire lives.
Yes.
And now it's time for them to go.
Yes, time for them to go wherever they shall land.
Right. So how do you feel about this?
I have mixed emotions. For years and years, it has been my only goal in life to get him out of this house. And now it's starting to be real. And I don't really know what I'm doing with that. We've not talked about this yet, but his SAT score came back and that's when it was real. Like, I have to send this score somewhere, or he has to send the score somewhere. So I've had a very long weekend, just waiting on that and just that it's here. It's here. We're less than 6 months out. He'll be 18. We just had that whole conversation. It's real. So I'm there. Kind of a place I never thought I'd be, but I'm there.
So are your feelings happy feelings? Are they like, oh no, it's happening? Because I feel like if I asked you this question 5 years ago, you'd have been like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for him to go.
Exactly. It's I guess it's typical, everything every other parent has said. I can't even begin to imagine where the time went. He'll be 18. And, for so many years, it was just he and I. And that the idea that I will walk in the house and he will not be looking at me, asking me what he's going to eat is weird. We just started this whole process. We're about to start building this house, and he will probably only live in this house maybe 2 or 3 months and he'll be off. So
I'm getting sad.
Fix your face. You can't start crying. But it's very, I never imagined that this part of my life would come. And so I'm still processing. So some days I'm sad. There are literally, and people who know me will not believe this, but there are literally days that I drop him off at school and I am in tears.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have a lot more of those.
Yeah. You start to count each of the days that they're going to be like, every day starts to make even more, impact on you. Like, I'm only going to do this so many more times with you. I remember with Braylon on his first day of school, I lost it. Like, I have taken this picture every day for 12 years. And now I won't be taking this picture anymore.
Yeah, but at least you had some more.
I know, you only have the one. Well, Your family is growing in different ways now. Yeah. Well, I am of the belief that intentional launching, like being very intentional about this last school year together, will bring some peace when he does transition out of your house.
Yes, because let me be clear, he must go.
He must go.
He must go. However that happens, he has got to get up out of here. But yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
So you've thought about 3 things that I ask you to consider that you would do or want him to know, or a way you want him to grow before he goes off into the next phase of his life. And, we say whatever that may be because, like, we don't know exactly what's going to happen, but whatever it may be, something is going to change in about a year's time.
Exactly.
And so as you think about that, what is something you want him to know?
I feel like I was set out in the world without financial wherewithal. So I want him to know that it starts now, building a strong financial future. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have to wait until after you're done with college or after you're done with grad school. It starts now, being smart and being responsible financially. Because we all know at the end of the day, that can make or break where you land. So that is really where I am. I'm focused this year on capitating him and making sure he is well prepared and to do things like not take out the max amount on his student loans. Mm-hmm. I want him to be financially responsible because I don't want him to be me at this point trying to finish up the student loans before I start him for school, which is where I am. Mm-hmm. Had I known better, I would have done better. So I want him to know better.
Okay, good. So teaching him about stewarding his money well and, like the credit card. Do they still do that? Like when we were in college?
Yes,
we would do anything for a credit card.
With him.
Get a T-shirt, get a credit card.
Exactly. They've already started, and I've kind of had to stop that. Apparently, they can go to 7-Eleven right by the school, and they can put money on a card. Well, we had to stop that because they charge you to do that. And that's free. You don't have to pay to do that. Yeah. So that was kind of where it came from. I was like, I need to get this boy prepared. He has to be prepared to not fall into that type of thing. Mm-hmm. So that's where we started. I think it's called a green card or something. We started with that. So we'll see. It's a long way to go. The idea of teaching him to balance a checkbook is daunting, but we'll get there.
Yes. Fabian wants Brandon. One of the ways he wants him to grow is in having a budget and being more disciplined about how he spends the money that he does earn. Yeah. Because we were talking about like how Brandon will just come in and say, can I have $200 out of my account to buy AirPods? Like AirPods, whatever they are. I'm an Android person, so I don't know what these things are. But I'm like, you can't even keep up with like your glasses.
Yes.
Like, how are you going to keep up with 2 little things in your... Yes. The other day, we were trying to leave for school, and I can't find my glasses. How is he going to keep up with the 2 little bitty things? No, you cannot spend $200 on
We've been there, and thank the Lord, one of the first things we taught him was anything you want, you can find it on Amazon for half the cost, or at least. Mm-hmm. So he wanted those. When he found them on Amazon, he's like, I found them. They're $20. It's like, okay. You can have those because
the knockoff ones.
Yeah, because again, in 6 weeks, you'll only have one.
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah. Okay, so that's one way you want him to. So how do you want him to grow?
I spend a lot of time thinking about that, and there is some level of near failure on my part. So I want him to know that he's enough, because I've spent literally his entire life pushing him to the next level. And I know now that, at least according to other people, he's an okay kid.
he's totally
now I feel like I have to focus on building in him that he is enough. However it ends, however it lands, you're enough because he truly, thank the Lord, truly does his level best with things that actually matter. So that's something I want to work on this year, is making sure that he knows that he's enough and to not allow other people to make him feel like he isn't, including me, because I can do that. I cannot be easy to please.
That's really deep.
Yeah.
That's so how do you plan to do that? Because for 17-ish years,
I've been the complete opposite. I know. I've started to just back up and let him be. And when he wants to show me the most ridiculous YouTube video, I laugh. And
a genuine laugh, I'm sure.
you know me. I have a few. But I'm learning to just let him be who he is, because he's actually not a bad kid. You know, to just let him be and not, I'm done making him. I have made him as much as I'm going to make him at this point. And who he is now, he can fill in the gaps. So that's what I'm trying to do. Sometimes it's easier said than done, but it's weird. Because, you know, we're moving and we're selling the house, and I let him pack his room. And 5 years ago, that would have been the first place I started. I went up there. Now we're toward the end of the process. I walked in and it was pretty much done. I was like, okay, finish it up. And I didn't really do a whole lot with it. So I'm trying to back up and just let him adult in as much as a 17-year-old kid can.
Yeah, that's good. Do you know his love language?
He needs the words.
Yeah.
He has to hear it. He has to have the words. And that's difficult for me because I don't speak that language. So I have to make a point at giving him the words. Now, granted, because it's difficult for me, I tend to give the words in a text message. But he receives the words and it's fine.
Yes.
So I do need to be more intentional, though, about that, and to not fall back into me being me with the constant pushing. So we're working on that.
So this will be a year of growth for both of you.
Yes, because, you know, like you said, the family is growing, and I have 2 more people who really hang on to the words. And that is another stretch for me, mainly because, like, they are really, really words. So, yeah, it's a push. It's a push for me. And hopefully we get there. We only have a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think about this time 2 years ago is when I started my countdown clock for Braylon. And people thought it was weird that I was like 384 days till graduation.
Yeah.
And then before I knew it, it was like 9 days till graduation.
Yeah, I can't even.
And it just goes by so quickly. So to be purposeful and intentional and go into the year like knowing and marking each of the events, it brings a level of like, I savored that moment, and that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
So a place you would want to go, take some time and go slow and spend time with Destin. The funny thing about this is Destin is a character, I guess would be the best way to describe him. So when we think about like, let's go somewhere with Destin, we're like, this is going to be a treat, I'm sure. So where have you thought about going?
Yes. You know, we travel quite a bit and we do a lot. But believe it or not, with him, the best time was camping. We went an hour away. I don't even know if it was that far. And we have traveled. Destin has been out the country a few times at this point. We've traveled a lot here in the country, but just practically down the street. And it was during the setting up the tents and figuring out how to cook over the open fire. It was just very interesting just having that time and that talking with him. Which after, an hour or so, I was way too warm and there were way too many mosquitoes. So I talked from the inside of my tent through my little window. But it was just very interesting. And that was when I started to see, and that was about a year ago, I guess almost now, spring break last year. And that's when I realized he was a whole person. He was a whole person who had thoughts and ideas that actually made sense. And so that was kind of when I started trying to talk to him more, just to kind of see where he was. And he's an actual whole person who will be perfectly fine in life without me. But so I thought about doing that, maybe doing that on a little bit more, a bigger scale, because that was just a day or so. But to really go out and do that. Yeah.
That'd be good. So, do you think that Chris has any different thoughts about ways that he wants Destin to grow, or somewhere those two might want to go? Or I found it really interesting to talk to Fabian and get his list, because
it was completely different.
Yeah, it's different. It's different from a man's perspective. Because he mentioned like one way that he wished he had spent more time with Braylon was teaching him to shave. And looking at the woolly mammoth that walks into our house on the weekends, I'm like, I sure wish you would have too.
Now, it's interesting because Chris is the youngest. So he had the most time with his parents, but he is very close to his dad. And it's interesting, Destin has a very different dynamic than a lot of kids. But Chris stands in that gap. So he bought him the shaving kit. And it's interesting because I'm always of the thought, that whole thing will come, especially when we look at Didi. I was like, I can't believe Didi works and he low-key has a girlfriend. And
he does not. He has a friend that is a girl.
Oh, he has a friend that is a girl. Well, Destin is still very much so playing video games. Mm-hmm. And
he is too.
Chris is like, you have to get out soon. And so he wants him to he teaches him things. Like he teaches him things that I never even think about. He taught him how to cook, so he can feed himself and not look at me. And I think he knows how to change a tire. And so Chris is very practical because I think his dad did that with him. So, he definitely fills in all the gaps that I didn't think about. I thought about the big things, but then the little things, it's good. And a whole other aspect of it is Chris has gotten him involved at church, which he enjoys that. So it's interesting. It's interesting, that whole dynamic. And he still sees his dad, but it's just two different vibes there. Mm-hmm. So I guess everybody serves their own purpose.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how many days it is until graduation at this point.
Let me find out. I have it here.
Oh, you have it already?
Yes. I try not to. Well, I have gone to college because that's I'm not sure that the graduation is a huge deal, but it's 1 year and 66 days until he needs to probably go to college.
Oh my goodness.
So, yeah, 9 minutes.
And 9 minutes.
Seconds. Yeah, so, and wherever that is, he is, one thing for sure, we know he has to get out of here. Meaning he will not be in the state of Texas. He is very intent on that, and that's fine. But who knows? Who knows where he's gonna end up? But he'll be fine. He'll do his thing. He'll be fine.
Mm-hmm. So you have others that are younger, but what about empty nests? Are you looking forward to that?
We are, because we have now come up with our plan for that, which, Chris is a CDL instructor. But we've decided that once the kids are gone, he can go back to doing that full time, like driving. and we can just see the country. So we've just decided to focus all our traveling right now outside the country. And then when it's time, all these kids are gone, then we can just drive.
So you're getting in the truck too?
I'm only riding. I will ride. I've been in the truck a few times. I only ride. But yeah, apparently that's a whole life. People can spend their entire... These trucks have
beds.
Showers and Wi-Fi.
Oh.
Yes.
Well, I might travel in a truck with Wi-Fi and a shower.
Yeah, they have showers and kitchens and Wi-Fi. So yeah, you can make that your whole life. There are people who apparently live their whole lives on a truck with a P.O. box in a city. Yes.
All right. 1 year, 66 days and 9 minutes.
Right.
Till Dustin leaves. And before you go, you want him to know about stewardship and how to manage his money. You want him to grow in knowledge about himself and about him being enough.
Yes.
And having that internal security that he has been equipped and he's capable.
Everything he needs.
Yes. And before he goes, you want to take some time for slow camping.
Yes.
That sounds wonderful. All right. I guess we'll check back with you maybe in a year.
Check back.
And see how it all went.
Yeah. Who knows? That would be good. Yes. Let's make a date for that.
Yeah.
See exactly where this life has gone in a year. I know the past few years it's been, they've been crazy.
I told Bryce the other day, he's like, man, this was after spring break. He said, man, this week went by fast. It's already Friday. Because Bryce has like that voice. Like the voice I'm using is kind of how he talks. And I said, yeah, have you ever heard that saying? The days are long, but the years are short. He's like, I've never heard that. But it's so true. Now he keeps saying it to me. These days are long, but before I know it, they're gone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
Well, thanks for joining me.
Yes, this was fun.
All the things Dionne said about identity in her son, they were so convicting. As moms, we just push and push and push, and sometimes we don't realize the impact that it's having on our kids, telling them something about themselves in the push that we don't really intend. And I'm so glad Dionne said that, because maybe that'll be eye-opening for other moms as well. In the book of Luke, Jesus is talking to his disciples, and he's telling them not to fear man or what man may think of them. He says, only fear God. In Luke chapter 12, he wants them to know how valuable they are. And in verse 6, he says, are not 5 sparrows sold for 2 pennies? Yet none of them are forgotten by God. Indeed, the very hairs of your head are numbered. Do not be afraid. You are worth more than many sparrows. That has always stood out to me because it talks about these sparrows being only worth 2 cents, and God cares about them. So how much more does he care about you who've been made in his image? Don't find your value or your worth in what other people think about you, but find your value and worth in what God thinks about you. And I think that's what Dionne's getting at when she talks about Dustin knowing that he is enough. He's enough. God thinks he's great. So what does it matter what anyone else thinks? If you're going to add that to your goal list, that verse came from Luke chapter 12, verse 6, and I read from the NIV. I hope you'll join me in the next episode of the podcast. I'll see you then. In the meantime, be sure to connect with me on social media @AndBeforeYouGo on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And if you'd like to come on the podcast, then send me an email to hello@andbeforeyougo.com.